Welcome to the FCICA Product Webinar Series. We are pleased to have David Quinn and RJ Peterson of RFMS here with us today. David and RJ, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. My name is RJ Peterson. I am the Director of the Training and Implementation Teams here at RFMS. We're excited to have you all with us today as we show you our estimating tool called RFMS Measure. David Quinn will be the main presenter today. He is one of our very qualified measure trainers, been with us for a number of years and knows everything that there is to know about RFMS Measure. So with that, we're going to go through a PowerPoint presentation today on some of the benefits and features of RFMS Measure. And David, I will let you take it from here.
Good afternoon, all, depending on what time zone you're in. 1 o'clock here on the East Coast. I'm just going to open up my screen a little bit easier to see it. All right, who is RFMS? Well, RFMS stands for Resource Financial Management Systems. Okay, it was founded back in 1984. We have two basic softwares. We have a business operating system and also a estimating system. Today we're obviously going to be concentrating on the estimating system. As you can see, we're in over 3,000 flooring businesses and 7,000 locations across primarily US, Canada, and Australia. Here's the RFMS software seat. All right, we're going to be concentrating today on Measure Desktop. The other modules you see are part of our, we have another offshoot of our Measure program called Measure Mobile that works on a phone or an iPad or Droid device. It is a different platform than Measure Desktop that we'll be looking at here today. And the other modules you see are part of our accounting RFMS core system. Right. What is Measure? Well, Measure is the industry-leading flooring estimating software that follows the workflow of the estimating process, really follows the workflow that you yourself as an estimator have. Measure can be estimating for carpet, vinyl, tiles, hardwoods, laminates, anything really on your project. Even we could figure terrazzo or resinous epoxy floors, and it's available in several subscriptions based off your any business model you need. What I mean by that is you could have a premier product that is going to deal with blueprints and AutoCADs, or we have a standard product which won't let you import a blueprint in AutoCAD, but would let you do a floor plan from different drawing tools and all that are available. All right. If you're still doing hand takeoffs, you know, the old-fashioned way, I mean, it gets it done, but the biggest thing with software is it's, you know, makes it more productive and efficient. And it's not necessarily designed to do it for less square feet or yards than you could do it by hand, but ultimately more productive and efficient, especially any sort of changes that you'd have to do either on a builder side, homeowner side, commercial side, where they're replacing, you know, carpet broadloom areas with tile. And that's why we feel it's time for people to make a change and kind of come into 21st century with a little pun intended. All right. Why should I use technology at my company? Well, as I've just mentioned, it really makes it more productive and efficient, in my opinion. You know, if I had to do takeoffs for a living again versus training people on how to do them, certainly I could go back and do them by hand, but I would certainly not be as productive, as efficient as some of my coworkers if they were using software. All right. And I think our customers expect it. As I've always brought up at trainings, we live in a society now where everything technology has crept its way into everything from our homes to our cars, and just makes sense in business-wise and even estimating to let that also be part of our day-to-day routine. All right. So professional outputs allows for faster bid return, establishes credibility and confidence in your bid, and then 3D visuals and Measure create kind of a wow experience, more of a sizzle, could ultimately be used as a sales tool. All right. All right. Your staff needs it. Technology allows your staff to do their jobs quickly and efficiently, grow your business without adding staff and accommodate. You know, as we mentioned before, hopefully this is going to make you more productive and efficient in the takeoff process. And certainly takeoffs that used to take maybe a week, a huge commercial jobs, even ones that took maybe 2 or 3 hours, you can certainly take that time down by using software, right? What new technology does is create new opportunities to do a job that customers want done. All right, so Measure Premier here, it's designed for commercial flooring dealers, all right? It minimizes waste by optimally placing carpet seams and cuts. All right, keep in mind you, the user, have control over those seam placements. Okay, we have the ability to do built-in tile patterns for complex designs. It's a designer-driven market out there, both in commercial and residential. All right, we can quickly calculate the biggest commercial takeoffs, precisely control all the details and complexity of projects, from any sundries, glues, transition pieces that you might need. Define custom tile shapes and sizes, seeing a lot of rhombus tiles, parallelogram shaped tiles, hexagons, even triangles, seeing kite-shaped tiles, especially in our European clients. Increase profits and more efficiently and accuracy on takeoffs. Deliver service where your competitors cannot match, and then create 3D visuals for that wow factor that your customers might need, or that final thing to push over the edge, right? Now you can create estimates essentially in 5 steps. We're importing drawings, all right, from either a website, a builder sent to us, a GC, an architect. We can define and assign those materials to Measure. We have a thing in Measure called the product list, we'll see in further steps, to define those materials. Add product details, such as, does my carpet get base? And then calculate the estimates and view the results in prints and reports. All right. Let's see Measure in action. So importing scales and blueprints. Unfortunately, I do not have the ability. We came into a little complication with screen sharing. I know RJ can on his. We could show some of this stuff at the end after the presentation if some people would like to see that. I do have a finished product we can share. So, importing, scaling blueprints, setting up a product's list, drawing and editing the rooms, material allocation such as seamings, waste, and then finally our worksheet and our output for the printing for your job. All right. So Measure works with all sorts of file types, from DWS, TIFF files, PDFs, JPEGs, right? We can select those to be imported in. We can work with multiple page documents, so if there's more than one page to a CAD or a PDF, to import those items in. Worldwide, the format is PDF from our clients in UK and also Australasia region, Australia, New Zealand. Pretty much 90+% worldwide, people are dealing with PDFs, so not an issue in importing any sort of things in. We can import multiple pages at once. We can separate or combine PDFs into sheets or phases. All right. We can set scales. We can create a scale. So we have a blueprint that is not to scale, but we have dimensions. Sometimes you might have on a finished plan only a doorway that's a known doorway outside, a dishwasher, a tub deck. So you have to use some sort of known measurement if you don't have any dimensions to create your own scale. Our product list, all right, Measure has a whole product list to it. Kind of consider it like a warehouse that you can bring products into, anything from carpet to tile to hardwood to resinous floors, slab materials like granite and marble. All right, the products can be imported directly into the product list, or they can be imported from Excel or our business software, RFMS Core. All right, products contain the colors, the cost, units of measure, whether they come in a fixed quantity per box, pattern matches, roll sizes. So not too much information we can't digest, right? And the product list, here you can see what goes into the product list. It creates several tabs, either horizontally or vertically down the side, however you want those tabs organized. And you can see the default products we work with here with carpet rolls, carpet tiles, ceramic tiles, luxury vinyl planks and tile, VCT, hardwoods and laminates, vinyl roll goods, slabs, ceiling tile, concrete slabs, stampings, epoxy concrete. So pretty much anything that you're going to get a scope on, we're going to be able to do that. You can even do wallpaper, as a matter of fact. Kind of a dying art out there, but we can do that as well. Miscellaneous items, anything that's going to be, sort of labor related, any sundries, adhesives, base, trims, welding rod, thin sets, cove stick, integral bases, bull nose, anything that's going to need to go with those materials and also be estimated can be handled in our products list. Certainly any service items, and how those service items are calculated. We have different ways that we can calculate them depending on the material, all right? So any sort of labor, vinyl label, disposal, heat weld, right? Setting up the cost and margins for all products, right? And that can be done. Noticing of the calculation methods, different calculation methods that can be done with products, right? Outside of products list on our main screen, we have multiple tools for drawing. So we've got quick rooms, or actually preset room shapes that you can put on your drawing and then resize based on need. You can draw rectangle rooms, L-shaped rooms, polygon tools. You can curve rooms, ellipses. So you've got cutouts, designer-driven vinyl in commercial, a lot of cutouts and stamps and whatnot to create the ultimate product finishes. Right. Drawing and editing of rooms. You're seeing a screenshot of some rooms that have already been drawn on the machine. You can see the purple area and the kind of beige area up above it. That's where two materials come together. We've got some arcs and ellipses that were put into that particular room, or the material has to be put together. Right. You can see after you draw, and you can even have it set this way where now that particular screen's you can see through the blueprint where there's been a transparency set so that you can see the obliqueness. So I could see through the blueprint any notes, room names. Right? We call add-ons that can be used in a particular room, from flash coving. All right, for a cove base, cove stick, adhesive, base corners, inside, outside, labor, drawing the windows and transitions, and more. So anything that you're going to need to come up with. Quick stairs is a new, we've always had a stair tool, but we've added a new version of our stair tool called quick stairs, which are kind of frequently used stair shapes, sizes. They can all be edited, resized. You can even create steps and add steps to your quick stairs if you wanted to. So the quick stairs gives people a quicker jump coming out of the blocks versus having to do a set of spiral stairs to do the stairs from the scrap. We've got some presets, and you might need to change the width of the stair, landing size, maybe the riser and the tread dimensions, so on and so forth. Right? Drawing and editing rooms, right? Add-ons are being calculated as you draw them, so we have the ability to do what we call product add-ons. So if I have a carpet and I need to figure adhesive base with that, I can actually attach it to the carpet, almost like bundling it. So wherever I draw with that material, it's also figuring up those additional items, be it base, adhesive, labor charges, or welding rod. All right. When it comes to drawing and editing rooms, we have the ability to do all sorts of patterns. A lot of patterns we see nowadays, herringbones are real popular. All right, checkerboards still are in some configuration or another, and random patterns where there's a set percentage. It's all percentage based. I've got 30 of tile 1, 20 of tile 2, etc. And you need to put those percentages in there, and Measure can literally scatter the tiles throughout a desired area or areas where you need to figure up those percentages. Right? We have the ability to create your own custom patterns. Here we're dealing with actually two rhombus-shaped tiles with a square tile, and actually creating what would look kind of like a cube or a kind of block setup. And you see these patterns quite a bit, especially in designer work and commercial work. So we have the ability to take some of these custom patterns and actually create those in Measure, and then save those not only to the user workstation, but also they can be saved company-wide, so other users, if they come across these, can also utilize those. All right. Drawing and editing rooms, so editing like pattern matching, be it tiles that need to match from a corridor to offices, can be done, or could be broadloom, could be a roll vinyl, where we've either got a center the grout line, manual start positioning, meaning we've actually set a pattern start based off a desired point required by an architect. Or if I have a specific room that is set up and I need to match that room, being everything needs to flow off, let's say a corridor, and I have a broadloom job that has a pattern match, Well, all the offices need to flow off that particular corridor and not the other way around. So we have the ability to capture that and come up with that in Measure. We also have the way to create walls, or a tool that we call stacks. So a stack could be something as simple as 6-inch sanitary base that now has to be applied to a group of rooms. Well, I could have created a stack that just has 6 inches for my one panel, or a stack can be multiple panels. And with the stacks tool becomes the ability to put trim pieces in there. So if you had a piece of Dialex at the bottom that was for your base, a base, and then a piece of trim on top of that, that I could do that trim, an area of wall tile, Lastello area, more wall tile, bullnose. So we have ability to be able to do that, control the height of the panel, trim pieces that go on that panel, and actually save it to a stacks library, so that if you had several rooms that you were going to apply that stack to, that you don't have to recreate that particular wall configuration each and every time. Right? We do give you how it looks in 3D, either with wall thicknesses or without, but these are handy drawings that could be printed out with in a PDF with dimensions for an installer, or maybe they need to be printed out for presentation purposes or for submittals for your customer. So we do have a way to do that as well. Right? Material allocation, all right? You have the ability, although Measure will go ahead, if you have a 12-foot material, a 6-foot material, it's going to go out there and assign seams, all right, in given rooms. But ultimately, you, the estimator, you, the salesperson, have control over where seams are being placed, where you want seams. Ultimately, Measure is spitting out a math equation. It's going to be up to you, the estimator or salesperson, to choose the best layout and where the best place for seams are to maximize the material, minimize waste, so on and so forth. And we have all the tools from moving seams, adding and deleting seams that you can accomplish that. Right? Material allocation, so we can actually see where the seams are, see how those rolls are being cut off a given roll, different settings in our products list that affect some of how the cuts are being laid out, such as extra cutting tolerances and so on and so forth. You can rearrange pieces manually if you want to by dragging and dropping items around on those cut sheets. Also have different allocation settings in Measure options that can try to minimize some of these waste areas. But ultimately, it still comes back to the user trying to get the best layout that they can out of it. Right. Material allocation from seam and waste, right? We get rolls, the numbers of rolls needed, waste percentages based on the layout itself, and then overall length needed on a specific roll good. We also have a way, just to go back to the roll goods here real quick, we do have some tools that allow you to put materials that come into the warehouse. So, right, I did a roll or I did an estimate based off 200-foot roll comes into the warehouse. And now what's into the warehouse or what's available, you have a order module. We call a module called rolls you can lock, which actually lets you put roll sizes in, the actual roll sizes in, or rolls available to see if it works with the layout that you have. So we've got some great tools when it comes to roll goods and sequencing and grouping things from an allocation standpoint. Waste allocation, material waste allocation allows net footage. We're going to come up with.
Hi, David. This is Trevor. Can you hear me?
I can.
Could you refresh your page, please? Your audio sounds a little bit modulated.
Just refresh the web page itself.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
We apologize for the technical delay.
While we're waiting, Kimberly, do you want to go ahead and launch one of the polls for us? We'll have you guys take a quick poll while we're waiting for David to reconnect.
All right, sure thing. You want me to just send out the first one, RJ?
Sure, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah, I'm back, everybody.
So in your opinion, using estimating software is faster than by hand, about the same as doing it by hand, or slower than by hand? That should just be coming up for you on your screen.
Okay, I'm back in. My audio hopefully sounds a little better there.
Yeah, you sound
Much better.
to me.
Thank you for connecting.
You're welcome. All right, so we had left off at material allocation here. Okay, so Measure is actually going to come up with your net area, then give you a square footage based off your board or tile count, all right, and come up with a calculated waste factor. Let me jumped back on me, or jumped ahead rather. Right, so that calculated waste, that's basically trash can waste. That's not extra material for a job. You still have the ability to add extra waste for install or overages, cuts, damage. So once again, you, the user, although the software is going to help you, you, the user, still have ultimate control over the amount of material that you want to have on a job, especially when it comes extra waste. All right. Material allocations with seam waste, etc. You can do addendums in Measure. So let's say you had a layout and they wanted two addendums, either a change or maybe a change order or alternate pricing. Okay, where I want a carpet tile number, I want a broadloom number, or we would like broadloom in these areas with an option to go, hardwood. So either addendum changes, a flat change order, or alternatives we have the ability to do in Measure as well. Right? Worksheet and printing, we do have a worksheet in Measure, and that's Excel-based, although it's not Excel. The white areas that you see are the only areas that you can actually edit and input information in. But what that worksheet is doing is that's spitting out your numbers for a job. And I've always felt that the worksheet, from an estimating standpoint, and when I look at my worksheet, if I'm an estimator and it's a cost to me in my company and it has to leave our warehouse or get on somebody's truck, I should have it accounted for on this worksheet. That way I know I have everything accounted for on the job and I'm not taking any shortcuts and maybe trying to handle something on the back end. I mean, if you're really using Measure efficiently, your worksheet should be a snapshot of your job, right? Now, Measure does have different forms, because the worksheet itself, if you just go back to the worksheet when you go to print it, you're only limited on the columns that can show. So we created an area in Measure called Forms that lets you go in and customize areas from the worksheet to create a presentation that you want to show a customer. All right, so am I showing a price, and am I showing, like I can show add-ons, which would show the add-ons on a job, like a base or adhesive. Do I want to show those add-ons under the material? Would I rather hide the add-ons, which would lump the pricing into the main material? Do I want to show or hide the rooms, show prices, show only grand totals or material prices? So you can mix and match a lot of the numbers from the worksheet back in what we call Measure Forms, and then there's several forms that you can use in order to create a presentation. Like this right here is a proposal form. So the net area, the waste, the unboxed quantity, the markup, and the price, and the subtotal are ones that a user has selected to present. Looks like they had the add-ons under the material at the look we're going here. There's also another form that's more of a formal proposal that has lines on it and everything. Looks more like an Excel sheet. So you can have a blank one like this. And then within these printouts, you can actually create templates so that I don't have to reformat it every time I'm going into Forms. I pick the template that I want for pricing or to send my proposal to, and it automatically fills out the way we had it. Right? Why should I choose Measure? Well, Measure Desktop was first launched in 2005, right? 11 US-based Measure exclusive developers, all right? 6 US-based Measure exclusive help desk agents, all right? 4 Measure exclusive trainers, integration with RFMS and QuickBooks, as well as Excel to export to work for any company, and then multiple platforms of the version that fits your company's needs. So, whether in Measure Desktop and Premier and or Standard, or a combination of both. So we can mix and match things to fit your ultimate business needs. right? Speaking of versions, Measure Mobile version that can be used as a companion piece in Premiere. So let's say I'm a Premiere user, I've imported a blueprint and I've done my takeoff. That bid's been awarded. Now before we need to go and actually we want to do some field measuring, I could actually take that job created in Measure Premiere, open it up in Measure Mobile, take my iPad out in the field and verify measurements based off the original takeoff in Premiere. Or possibly I've done a takeoff in Premiere and I have a salesperson that has an addendum. I'm tied up with a new bid. Well, that salesperson could open up the same job I did in Premiere, view the blueprint. They can't edit or change the blueprint, but maybe he has to change a series of rooms or broadloom over to wood or to another resilient product, and he can, without bothering an estimator, he or she can come up with a new number or an addendum number without having to actually have Premiere, where they could use Standard as a companion piece for doing change orders and whatnot. So depending on the version you're in, you can mix and match and use with other versions of Measure as well. Right? This is a list of what each version can do. This is on our website with Measure. If you go to the Measure website, you'll be able to actually see this, measureflooring.com, and go to pricing and version difference. So you can see here with the check marks what each version can do. Obviously, the Premiere is our kind of top of the line product, and you can see it does a lot more heavy lifting than some of the other products do. Here's your pricing, all right? Now, everything with Measure is a subscription-based license, so what that means on any of the versions that you would be looking at there, you certainly have a monthly price or a annual price. I believe you're saving about 20% on a annual subscription. The Measure Premiere, we do have a free trial of that. I work with a lot of trial users along with my other duties, and that gives you 30 days to try the product for free. But to get back to the subscription licensing, what the subscription licensing does is I have Measure Premiere. I want to put Measure Premiere on 5 computers in my office, all right? With one subscription at any given time, one person can utilize that subscription on any one of those 5 machines. But I can't have 2 people simultaneously using Measure at the same time unless I had 2 subscriptions. If I had 2 subscriptions, then I could have it on as many computers as I want, say, go back to our example of 5, but only 2 people simultaneously could use it at that time. So if you need more than one person being within a product at the same time, then obviously you need more than one subscription. All right? And that's kind of an overview of our product. Be glad to take any questions that you folks have. And RJ actually has a finished product on his screen, so if we need to show that to either demonstrate some things or show some of the finished products that Measure has outside of these slide shots, we would be able to do that for you.
All right, so I've got some questions here. If you're listening now, of course, if you'd like to send in a question, please do that. But starting with what I've got here in front of me, how long does it take to do a takeoff in Measure?
Depending on the job, okay. I'm working actually on site today with a client, and they do strictly multifamily new construction, okay. To do a basic unit for the takeoff, you know, for somebody that's experienced, it could take a matter of, 5 to 10 minutes to do a takeoff on a finished unit. Somebody that's a newer user, think of the first time you even did a hand takeoff. It's very robotic. So depending on the job size, it really depends on the time itself. I could take, a big commercial footprint building that might take, let's say, an hour or 2 by hand. You could easily cut that time in half by doing it in Measure. Certainly any addendums that come down the road in value engineering pricing and all those things could value. But certainly newer users are going to be slower than more experienced users. But a lot of it's going to be depending on the work. Certainly more smaller residential scale jobs are going to be a lot quicker than say, a healthcare facility or a hotel that's multiple floors and multiple scopes. So,
sounds good. How often is the software updated?
We typically do a couple releases a year, okay? Right now, Measure 15.0 is out. We're hoping to have 15.1 out in the near future. So 2 or 3 at the most a year, all right, which are what we call official releases. And then we have, as a support group and training group, we have what we call on-demand releases. And what an on-demand release is, it's something that's given out by our support department to handle any issues that maybe somebody was having with one of our public builds. So it's kind of a a Band-Aid release, for lack of a better word. It handles any of the issues that might have come up, or bugs, or something that a customer discovered in one build, and now we have an on-demand release we can give that client. And those on-demand releases are ongoing. Each week we get a different one released to us internally, and when we agree that it's a quality build, we'll put it up there for our on-demand releases. So people aren't basically pigeonholed into waiting 3 or 4 months for an official release to come out to possibly handle a bug that they're incurring on a current build. We can give them that on-demand release so that they can get back to working and coming up with numbers that they're confident in.
Okay, awesome. You mentioned pattern matching. How does Measure handle obscure pattern matches?
Well, when they say obscure, I would imagine they're kind of, different ones, large pattern matches. These are one of these things that we go through on our training stuff, but long story short, what Measure does with pattern matching is it does pattern matching technically by the book, okay? I have an install background originally before I started with RFMS and estimating and sales and many things in between. But let's say you had a 3-foot by 3-foot pattern match. Many estimators, many installers think that means I need to add 3 foot to every cut to accommodate for the match. No, what you really need to do is that cut needs to go out to the next number that's technically divisible by the match, or the next number that contains a full repeat. So if I had a room that was, say, looking at it left to right, it's, say, 23 wide and it's 13.9 across, okay? And if we were starting out with a perfect scenario with a full pattern match up in the corner, well, and we're running the material 13.9, so we're running it across, so there'd be a seam in the middle of the room. I don't need a 16.9 if it has a 3-foot pattern match. What I would actually need is a 15-foot cut, because that's the next number that's going to contain a full repeat. So it's one of those things we go over in training, because a lot of times I had one a couple weeks ago where they know how their installers were going to treat the material from a pattern match standpoint, which was differently than how Measure was going to do it. So there is a way to go in and kind of do an old school pattern match where basically you count up the cuts and you could add that number in on your worksheet. So a couple different ways to do it, but out of the gate, Measure is going to take a pattern match and it's going to go by the technical number that it should be, and then with some of the tools that were shown in the presentation, from a pattern start, and I have to align patterns, all that's going to make it different when you're pattern matching material, because I have to make sure if I'm going from room A to room B to room C that material needs to match and continue that match in all 3 rooms. Some matches are real funky out there for like casino work. In particular, hospitality work. You'll see some real funky pattern matches. It would be, I had one last year where it turned out to be 2 12-foot 6 pieces ended up being the pattern match. And actually the gentleman that was doing the takeoff didn't have to figure the pattern match, because it had already been taken into account by the manufacturer, and they sent him a cheat sheet on the blueprint where he actually could see the cuts that he needed to account for. So if you get something that's really, crazy pattern match and you're really confused on what to do, that's why we have our support desk, because, we're just either a phone call or an email or a chat away to get somebody, one of our Measure support people, which I am on a part-time basis, to help you and could actually log into your screen and walk you through what they best recommend for a particular case-by-case basis.
Okay, cool. Can you sequence roles on a large project?
Yes, you can. And not only can you sequence roles, but it's probably a good idea if you think roles are going to be sequenced, or you know how an installer is going to install it, which maybe he's not truly sequencing, but he wants to. I've got 20 offices across the top of a building, and he doesn't want to take Office 1 off of Role 1 and Office 2 off of Role 3 and Office 2 off of Role 4, that you can actually tell the software how you want those cuts to be laid and which roles you want them to cut off them, or how you want those cuts basically in order or sequence. So we have a grouping tool, okay, a tool called Lots, and an actual true sequencing tool that will let you actually truly sequence your roles.
All right. You also mentioned integration with QuickBooks and Excel. Does Measure work with or integrate with any other programs?
We do not. We get asked that a lot from a training standpoint. I mean, with Excel, with QuickBooks, and obviously our own accounting program. And the reason for that, I know some competitor softwares out there do integrate with other products, but we kind of cannibalize our own, other end of our business if we decided we were going to let everybody just migrate to any accounting platform they want. We certainly want to kind of protect our own, business operating system. So that's why we're limited to RFMS Core, Excel, or to QuickBooks.
All right, and looks like this is the last one. You mentioned some of your other products. Does RFMS have any sort of programs for project management or communicating with people in the field?
I'll let RJ chime in on a couple that are on the RFMS side. From the Measure side, we have a phasing tool, so that certainly will let an estimator or salesperson or project manager say, okay, I've estimated this job and I have X amount of carpet, X amount of tile. Now they're giving me this area of the building, or they're giving me this floor. I need to send out broadloom, I need to send out hardwood, and I need to send out tile for this particular day or phase, that I can actually get into Measure and take it from the overall bid. Now what do I need for Tuesday? All right, Tuesday they're giving me the following offices and public areas. These are the items that I need. I could assign those to a phase, and that phase then in turn, that'll help me manage what actually is leaving my warehouse from a measurement standpoint. So, X amount of yards carpet or X amount of square feet roll goods. So that's what you can do internally within Measure itself. And then there is some modules in RFMS, and I'll let RJ comment on those.
Yeah, thanks, David. So in the RFMS business management software, there is a module called Client Management, and inside of there's a project management tool that we can use to manage projects, put in milestone dates, create automated actions and events and triggers that happen in conjunction with specific actions or milestone dates, keep track of test results, create submittals and transmittals for your customers. So it's an all-inclusive module that really will do a lot of that extra work for you that you might be doing in other programs. Of course, it's all connected with the rest of RFMS and RFMS Measure, so you're able to see the Measure information as well from the project, and communicate that with your field supers or anyone else that might be working on the job. So.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys. It looks like that's all of the questions we have for now. We do have some more time if you guys want to jump into the program. Otherwise, we can wrap things up here.
David, was there anything that you wanted to show in the program on the screen share, or just wait to see if there's any other?
Yeah, I'd wait to see if there's any other questions. I mean, certainly you can see our email addresses there. Me in particular, if somebody is new to Measure and wants to set up a one-on-one demo, or we can actually, you know, create like our own webinar between the two of us and get in there and actually walk you through, you know, a basic bid and how you'd start it, how you create the products, draw the products out, so on and so forth. That's one of my job functions, is doing actual product demos. If you want to download the trial and test drive it, certainly contact me at my email, and we can also set up a webinar or a demo to go over any questions you might have and best practices and those type of things. So.
All right, awesome. Well, on that note, on behalf of FCICA, thank you so much to David and RJ for presenting today's webinar sponsored by RFMS. Sims, you may now navigate to the Submit Credit tab to complete your feedback survey and receive credit. And note that you must be signed into the education platform for this feature to work and for that to post to your account. So if you have any issues, please just let us know. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us, and have a great day.